Hey there, welcome to the Astro Psyche. I'm Shawna, your counseling astrologer, and I want to share with you what's going on this week and over the next couple of weeks in the astrology. So we have eclipses that are happening, we have Mars going retrograde, and this week and the weeks to come, there's a strong emphasis around change, transformation, a really strong signature for empowerment. And it can feel a little bit like there's a lot of change or there's a lot in flux. And so I want to share the astrology of this week with you, and then a little bit of what to expect and how to work with this, especially from a depth psychological perspective. So with that, I want to share a quote with you that I feel embodies the energy of this week. So this is from The Art of Inquiry, a depth psychological perspective. And so they say, the psyche is the great repository of ideas, images, emotions, sensations, and desires that appear in the world, whether its source is personal or collective, conscious or unconscious. Psyche is someone with whom we can develop a profound, lifelong relationship. And I really love this because when I was reading this, I was thinking, oh yes, this is what eclipses do for us. They open us up to all these different ways of seeing and ways of connecting and ways of perceiving and hearing and seeing and thinking. And we always have access to this. And the eclipses bring in a time period where it's kind of like we're more able to connect with that which is unseen in psyche. And so I want to back up for a second. So eclipses, just to put this in context, so eclipses happen about every 6 months. Most of astrology, we're looking at things in cycles. So the cycle of eclipses is about every 6 months, because eclipses happen when the lunations fall close to the north and south node. So the north and south node are always opposite one another, and as the lunations move around the zodiac, every 6 months they come into contact with the node points. And so the nodes are a symbol of they're a symbol of the unseen, and they're a symbol of things that are very familiar to us and things that are very unfamiliar. So some people relate it to your past, whether that is your ancestry, or if you believe in reincarnation or past lives, the south node is related to that kind of energy. So that can be the past or your lineage in whatever way you connect with that. And then the north node is the future, that which we are moving toward, and that which is growth inducing for us, that which is unfamiliar and enlivening. And so when the lunations, the new moon and the full moon, fall on these points or close to these points, it opens up this new possibility where we can connect with our history and our past, and that energy that we have inside of us, that there's something otherworldly about it, as well as the future and that which we are moving toward at a symbolic level. So eclipses can often be a time where there's a lot of synchronicity, because again, the way that I conceptualize it is it's the unconscious, the collective unconscious, the personal unconscious. And I love this quote because it explains that psyche contains everything. So psyche also means soul, and psyche contains the conscious, the unconscious, the personal, the collective, ideas, images, emotions, everything. And so the eclipse opens up more possibility for us to connect, and to also connect with things that are soul enlivening. where there is a personal connection even that you have to a collective matter. And so when we bring this into now we are having the eclipses on the axis of Scorpio and Taurus. So Scorpio and Taurus are fixed signs. They're very focused around power, control, security, and feeling secure, feeling safe, feeling rooted, feeling the emotional security and autonomy, which is more Scorpio, and then Taurus is more about feeling physical security in the material world. And we have a partial solar eclipse, which is also a new moon. Solar eclipse is always a new moon. This is happening Tuesday, the 25th of October at 3:48 a.m. Pacific time. This is happening at the early degrees of Scorpio, at 2 degrees of Scorpio. And so this is a time where these themes of new and fresh energy coming in, because this eclipse is close to the south node, it can also be a time of processing old or historical themes or patterns in your life. And especially relational patterns, because Venus is very close to this eclipse. So this can be relational patterns in your family system, in your ancestry. It can also be patterns that you're not sure where they came from, but it feels very familiar. When we're talking about the south node and an eclipse on the south node, we're working with energy that feels familiar and that we want to change and transform in some way. Now, the other piece of this is that this week we also have Mercury square Pluto. And this is also this is like a complementary theme of really getting into and working on patterns. Mercury is about our mind and our thought process, and Pluto is about digging very deeply into that which has been exiled or buried or forgotten about. Pluto is about the unseen. Pluto is also very much about or related to feelings of crisis or shame or guilt, and it's related to healing and catharsis and the healing that can happen when we acknowledge pain and suffering and when we allow those difficult states of being to have space in our psyche. And so I realize all of this might sound really intense, and I'm not sharing it with you to say that it's going to be intense to freak you out, but just to validate that it is a deeply it is a time where we have the capacity to go deeply into that which we're feeling and to really work with especially deeply rooted unconscious patterns of behavior or emotions, and to bring some love and attention and healing to those. Again, Pluto is really about healing. And when we have Mercury square Pluto like this, it's about working with especially communication and thought patterns. And it's also about really like getting into things with your analytical mind and questioning, is this true? Is this helpful? Is there another way to perceive this? Is there another way to look at this? Shortly after Mercury squares Pluto, it will move into the sign of Scorpio. So we have like all of these layered themes around emotional intensity, around healing, and around also deep connection as well. So when Mercury moves into Scorpio, this is about really wanting to delve deep and to have an emotional connection, to have an emotional an emotionally literate way of thinking about things, and to think about things and to communicate in a way that is more deeply relational. Now, I said that I would also talk about Mars going retrograde in Gemini. And so that is happening this week. Mars is stationing retrograde on the 30th of October, and it will be retrograde until January. So Mars retrograde happens about every 2 years or so. So this is a transit that doesn't happen that often, and it really focuses Mars symbolism in a particular area of the sky, of the zodiac, in a particular area of our chart. So it's very important, and it's not something to be afraid of. I know that we have a negative connotation with retrogrades, and I think that is because we as a culture are constantly focused on moving forward, being productive, producing, showing results, and retrograde is a symbol of reflection and looking back and slowing things down and really taking our time. And that can be very, very useful. And it can, I was going to say it can be productive, but like that's not even the point. The point is that being reflective is also valuable. What is Mars? So Mars is a symbol of physical vitality, assertiveness, courage, being willing to put yourself forward for something, to fight for something, to advocate for something. Mars can also, in its more challenging state, be a symbol of aggression, anger, frustration, even violence, or accidents, like moving too quickly, and then sort of like getting tripped up. That can also be a symbol of Mars. A big part of this Mars retrograde story, this particular transit, is that it's also square to Neptune pretty closely. And these are like conflicting themes, because Mars is about movement and action and being assertive and being direct. Mars is very comfortable with confrontation, whereas Neptune is about illusion and softening and dissolving, exploring altered states of consciousness or creativity. Neptune is about the unseen. And so when these two come together, Neptune can kind of soften the energy of Mars, soften that desire to act, and Mars can bring some fresh energy into Neptune. So I think this really depends on how this is configured to your chart. But what I will say is that wherever this is happening for us, there's an intensity, there's like a wanting to advocate or to be more assertive in a particular area of life, and to like want to advocate, and to maybe like want to change something in your life. So for example, if this is happening in your first house, or let's say in your first house, this is going to be really focused around your physical body and wanting to maybe bring more strength and resilience to your physical body and your fitness, or just more focus to how you relate to your body. Versus if this is in the 10th house, it's going to be maybe putting more energy, Mars, into your career or the work that you do, the way that you make money. And so we can do this combo with all of the different houses and the planets, etc. And at a collective level, I think this is really about contemplating how it is that we assert ourselves, how it is that we advocate for something, especially being assertive and being an advocate in a way that is not direct, layering in that Neptune. And I think that it's also like a softening of the physical energy too. And so I I think that from now until January, it is a time where we're thinking more about things. We're thinking about how it is that we want to take action and looking back at how we've taken action before. Has that been effective? Are there situations where taking action and being assertive worked really well or was very difficult, or there's a different kind of dynamic that you would like to invoke in your life? Again, Mars retrograde is about reflecting back on the past, and it's about it's also about conserving your energy and bringing some of that that vitality inward, so that it's not so much about producing something on the outside. It's more about focusing on how it is that you feel good. What brings you inner vitality? What brings you a sense of courage and confidence and satisfaction in yourself for you? All right, so I'm going to pull a card for you. So if you have a question or a certain topic that you want to focus on, now is the time to do that. And you can ask Psyche to be very clear with you in the image or the symbolism. Okay, so I pulled the Sun card. So this is the Muse deck. Look how beautiful that is. So I want you to notice what imagery jumped out at you when you saw this card, what you associate with the sun. For me, the sun is about, it's a card of encouragement. It's about having a positive mindset and expecting good things in your life. I did pull this card reversed, so this to me is a reminder to be positive, and not like in a fake it till you make it, like toxic positivity kind of way, but it's more about knowing that that you're where you need to be. And just because there is a challenging situation, that does not mean that there is something wrong, that you've made a mistake, or that you're off course. It's more that sometimes there are difficult situations that we need to go through, or that we do go through for whatever reason, and that there is sunlight at the end of the tunnel, and that you're doing great and you're doing what you need to do. So I hope that you found this helpful. I would love to hear from you on what resonated most with you. And I'm just really wishing you a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.